Hello and welcome to this India Today special program, our continuing focus on the big elections. Remember, yesterday was exit poll day. We've given the big numbers of the India Today Axis My India poll. On the 11th is the counting. But what do those exit poll numbers really indicate? What's the real story of the battle for 2018? That's the focus on this special program tonight.
If you do a deep dive into the exit poll numbers, you cross-tab data from all three states, compile it, there are certain trends that emerge, Rajdeep. These trends are across the Hindi heartland, and if you're a BJP supporter, then these trends are disconcerting. The question is, are they limited to the assembly elections or can they extend to the 2019 polls? But make no mistake, the trends are very, very discernible, which is what we will do over the next 1 hour. We've broken them up into 6 mega trends you can pick up if you just look at the 3 sets of exit poll numbers taken together. Let's get started then.
That's right. So the big story of the 2018 exit polls is a story that will offer a pointer possibly to 2019. And on your election channel, that's what we're going to do. Break down those numbers for you to try and make sense what's happening around you. Joining us now is a very special panel. Manisha Priyam, senior political analyst with us. Javed Ansari, senior journalist. Shantanu Gupta, author of a book on Yogi Adityanath and political observer. Also joining us, the man of the moment, Pradeep Gupta of Axis My India. He's had a peaceful night seeing all those exit poll numbers. And Rahul Srivastav, our national affairs editor.
So let's take the first trend coming up on your screen now. There are 6 mega trends. I'll show you the first trend. And remember, looked at in isolation, this data doesn't mean very much. Taken together, there is a story. That's the story I hope to tell you. I'll get started with rural areas. Remember, Gujarat was a highly industrialized, urbanized state. These hinterland states are not. What you're going to see on your screen right now are urban areas here on the right and then rural areas on the left. This is Madhya Pradesh. We'll see all 3 states one after another. In Madhya Pradesh, in rural areas, the Congress is a 3% lead over the BJP. In urban areas, the BJP is way ahead. It's got a 5% lead, but in rural areas, the Congress is 3% ahead. Remember, there are 187 rural seats out of the 230 seats of Madhya Pradesh. This is just pointer number 1. I now join dot number 2. Dot number 2 comes from Rajasthan. Here in rural areas, the Congress has a 4% lead over the BJP. The Congress at 41, the BJP at 37. In Rajasthan, the problem for the BJP is more acute because even in urban areas, the Congress is ahead, but we leave that on the side just for the time being. I now come to the third state of Chhattisgarh. In Chhattisgarh, the gap between the Congress and the BJP is 13%, which essentially means if you add up Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, all across rural hinterland seats in these 3 states, the Congress leads, which means the trend that we picked up in Gujarat of rural areas going against the BJP has been compounded and aggravated in these 3 hinterland states, Rajdeep.
You see, looking at Gujarat and looking at what is happening now, what is very clear, in Gujarat, urbanization was between 40 to 50%. And that reflected in the number of seats. Surat, Ahmedabad is what rescued the BJP in Gujarat a year ago. But Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan, 70 to 75% are rural seats. GVL Narasimha Rao, your first reactions to those numbers. Clearly, if it's double digit in Chhattisgarh, almost double digits in Rajasthan, and a significant lead in Madhya Pradesh in rural areas, something is going wrong which your government has failed to address. Not just the Modi government, but your state governments as well. Agrarian distress is a reality.
Rajdeep, I think all this analysis is subject to the statutory warning that the exit poll has picked up the right trend. I think that's something we must always tell our viewers, because different exit polls are predicting different results. They are not agreed on Chhattisgarh. 2 major exit polls gave a BJP victory. two of the polls, including your poll, is giving a Congress victory, and obviously their numbers in rural areas would be different from your numbers. So I'm just keeping that aside and just trying to argue based on the scenario that you presented before me. And if you look at, you see, this could be more local in nature. Even if I were to assume that your numbers are not completely inaccurate, this could be more local, because you have seen a few months ago Karnataka results. In Karnataka, we did rather well in rural areas, and we slipped up in urban areas. And in Bangalore, the Congress actually was able to get those numbers, though they were far behind us, because they won, they did well in urban areas. So it could be more to do with which government is in office in that state. And it could be more local also. So therefore,
but in all these states, it's your government.
This cannot be the case that there is rural distress in the north and there is urban distress in Karnataka.
GVSG, we accept that exit polls are hazardous to health, both of politicians and journalists and political observers. But with that caveat, the fact is, in all these three states, you are in power. In all these three states, at the moment, it appears that there is a rural move away from the BJP. That's the big picture that's emerging. In Rajasthan, it's rural and urban, but in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, it's particularly in rural areas. And we've seen in the last 12 months, there's anecdotal evidence in Mandsaur, in other parts of Madhya Pradesh, as well as in Chhattisgarh, of farmers' protests over soya bean, over garlic, over onions. They're not getting their procurement prices. Will you accept that there is a problem, or will you live in denial? Forget the numbers for a moment.
That's right.
No, Rajdeep, I think the Mandsaur episode was certainly a very tragic incident, and the Chief Minister, Shri Shivraj Singh Chauhan, responded in a very mature and a very sensible way. It's certainly a very tragic incident, but to expect to take this incident and to see this as an evidence of a rural distress is to really look at demonetization from the context of a few people who suffered. Certainly there was suffering in demonetization, but that was used by many of analysts to say, oh, the BJP's entire
as
UP
of now, he's
campaign will
clearly
go for a
speaking in his
toss.
capacity more as a neta than as a psephologist, because leave aside the vote share numbers, leave aside the seat share numbers, Manisha Priyam, you cannot deny the trend. In all three states, forget whether we got every seat right or every vote share percentage right. The trend in these, and this is a big sample size, the overall sample is 1,97,000. In Madhya Pradesh, it's 71,000 plus.
Spot on. GVL Narasimha Rao, the psephologist, needs to be just an averages person. Here we are not talking about seats. Here we are just saying that we did a survey of which the proportion of rural population, and the big thing that's coming here is that if these numbers for Madhya Pradesh rural and Chhattisgarh rural hold for the Congress, there is a coming together of the middle landowning farmer and the poor landless who you were dealing through your PDS transfers and your cash transfers of Ladli Lakshmi. Whatever happened, that split that you got between the PDS acquisitions that were being recycled as Chawal Baba and the poor who you dealt with the the cash transfers, that split is gone. So it's not just about what has happened. The script is far deeper, and in the heartland, not just in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh. If this were the script, Western UP is going to repeat itself, Rajasthan is going to repeat itself, Haryana is going to repeat itself.
Can
so
I just show,
averages are a huge
so
pointer
this is not the
of a
only
difference of the rural vote bank. What do you do to
it can
that?
be argued that a rural seat is not only about farmers. There are other people who live in villages also. So I want to show two more data points which build the story that we just picked on of there being a problem for the BJP in rural areas. I will show you now through this Access My India data how farmers and farm laborers, if you break up this massive sample size as per occupation, how do farmers and farm laborers in all these three states perceive the BJP and Congress in this assembly election. I'll start with Madhya Pradesh. Remember, just listen carefully to what I'm saying, then tabulate all three states together. This is Madhya Pradesh. Here the Congress has a 4% gap between, there's a 4% gap between the Congress and the BJP amongst those who identified themselves as farmers. Amongst farm laborers, there is a 1% gap. So a narrow gap, but let's now come to the next state. I now come to Rajasthan. Here, there's a 5% gap between the Congress and the BJP amongst farmers and a 13% gap amongst farm laborers, a 13% gap amongst farm laborers. I come now to Chhattisgarh. Here, amongst the farmers, there is an 11% gap. Amongst farm laborers, there is an 8% gap. So just add these three dots together, Pradeep Gupta. Farm laborers, farmers, rural India, in the hinterland, all saying exactly the same thing. You need to just add the dots.
Yeah, we need to evaluate farm laborers and farmers separately.
Sure.
The issues are different with both the segments. For farmers, what is more important and most important is the MSP and the crop, whether any natural disaster happen or something like that. When it comes to the laborers, they largely depend on government social security schemes, be it the state government schemes or be it the
So you're making
central
a
schemes.
distinction between those who will need higher MSP,
Yeah.
who may get the benefit of the Pradhan Mantri
Agriculture-
Fasal Bima
agriculture
Yojana,
related, yeah.
and those on the other hand who need some form of direct cash transfer or a Narega-like scheme. Let's look at it then in policy perspective, Rahul Srivastava, because look at how Mr. Modi dealt with it. First 3 years he didn't touch MSP, despite all the criticism about it. Now, in the last 6 months, has moved on the direction of MSP, promised to implement Swaminathan Commission report. On the other hand, when it comes to farm laborers, there's the belief that Jan Dhan Yojana accounts khul gaye. How many of them have actually got the monies? How many of the monies have been transferred? If these results hold, there will be questions surely that the BJP will have to look at their policy towards agriculture.
Rajdeep, I have spoken to some agronomists and I have spoken to some within the BJP. Now, a very interesting story is emerging, especially in Madhya Pradesh and in Rajasthan. What they are saying is that if you look at, say, for example, Rajasthan, just a few months before election, even during the campaign, Rahul Gandhi was showing two fingers to say, how much are you getting for a kilo of garlic? Now, garlic production in Rajasthan is 7.9 lakh tons, metric tons. And the farmers at one time in 2016 were getting 88 rupees per kilo, and they were getting 13 rupees on an average in 2018. That means that a large number of people taking a hit as far as their produce was concerned. Now you come to, for example, Rajasthan, Bajra was selling in 2016 at 1500, 2018 1300, Moong was 8700, it was down to 4000, while the MSP is 6900, Bajra is 1900. The corrupt system, one, ensured that MSP is not given to the farmers. Second, a very interesting story is that because if you see Mr. Modi's first speech on note ban, it was black money. Today it is taxes and several restrictions on cash. When traders give money to farmers for MSP, they would give higher amount if it is cash, but if it is other instruments, they don't like to dole out much cash. The farmers stopped getting the cash for their produce. The traders who are in city were hurt because they were charged GST and they were hurt by note ban. And the farm laborers who were dependent on these farmers for their daily wages started getting hurt. It's the demonetization, GST, restrictions impact showing all the way.
Shantanu Gupta,
Perhaps taxes is a dirty word in this country.
BJP spokesperson on television has no option but to deny that he's concerned. But off the screen, if you're not alarmed by these numbers, then there is a real problem. We don't speak enough about farmers on television, especially on English television, but they're the ones who are voting, they're the ones who are winning or losing these elections, and they're telling you in this exit poll number, we're not happy with what we're being given.
See, Rahul, your analysis is based on the access poll, right? But there are other data points to prove. See, all the farmer protests, we have to see, are they manufactured or is the intensity at least manufactured?
But that's not the argument here.
Hear me out. Because the father of all the innovation in the Indian agriculture, M.S. Swaminathan, he had written a op-ed in Times of India, and he have given wholesale credit to Narendra Modi that from Rajnath Singh, when he made NCF, the report came to 2006, nothing happened for 10 long years, all the things started happening now. And all the macro data is showing something different.
But is it percolating on the ground?
Intensity of this protest is manufactured.
You're saying the intensity of the protest is manufactured.
Exactly.
If I get 1 rupee for let Sanjay Jha of the Congress answer that, because you know this argument is being made again and again. It was made even during Mansoor and beyond that the Congress in a sense is harnessing these protests, preying on the insecurities, anxieties of the farmers.
Word over is not a profitable.
There is a structural problem with Indian agriculture. Instead of addressing that, the Congress is simply saying raise MSP, that's the only way forward. Without offering an alternative, you're capitalizing in a sense on this farmer anxiousness, promising loan waivers in 10 days in Chhattisgarh. That's what's working.
Well, you know, Rajdeep, you remember the Mansoor incident. 6 farmers are callously killed. And at that point of time, Mr. Chauhan's government basically said this is a politically motivated mobilization. Ultimately, they realized it was a genuine farmer protest. So clearly, the government is totally divorced from ground realities. I can tell you about Maharashtra because I live here in Mumbai. You remember that big march that the farmers took, a silent protest all the way from Nashik to Mumbai. You had a BJP leader here, very prominent BJP face, who called them urban Maoists. And when the farmers reach Mumbai, then Devendra Fadnavis goes and tries to strike a compromise. Now, these are both manifestations of the fact that this government says one thing, for public consumption, but down inside it doesn't seem to know that these protests of the farmers is genuine. And let me answer you by one
Shivraj Singh
data.
Chauhan moved very quickly after Mansoor.
No,
he raised the MSP for soybean and other crops. He even waived farmers' power dues. It's not as if Shivraj Singh Chauhan was not conscious.
Right,
in fact, if out of all the figures that Rahul has shown, in Madhya Pradesh the gap is the least. And therefore, to some extent, Shivraj Singh Chauhan has at least addressed concerns which maybe Vasudha Raje and Raman Singh failed to do. I mean, that's the bigger picture. Out of the 3 states, the gap is the least in Madhya Pradesh.
Rajdeep, he moved after the damage was done, perhaps a bit too late, after Mansoor has happened. And if Mansoor is manufactured protest, then this is a perfect recipe for disaster. Even gods can't save these.
No, but I don't think we're looking at the data. One second. Even if we say Mansoor was an isolated protest, leave that on the side. You know, there's no way of proving that whether it's a political charge or not. Across 3 states, farmers are telling you they are unhappy. Farm laborers are telling you they are unhappy. They're not voting for you, they're voting for the Congress. There is a trend there. Whether Mansoor is an exception or not is not the data point here. Manisha Priya.
No, I was at the Kharpatwar University. That's as local as you can get, next to the Jawaharlal Krishi Vishwavidyalaya. There also I heard voices of some people who said they belonged to the RSS and they were with the founding of the RSS, but they said that these protests happen when in the mandis you are queuing up. Yes, the firing has been wrong, but nobody ever said these were manufactured. So people on the ground, the party supporting you on the ground, knew that there was big trouble coming. The course correction was done, but it seems if these figures hold that it's come too late and too little. The protests are far from being manufactured.
Out of your figures, the significant thing is the gap when you look at farmers and farm laborers. You see, the farm laborer was completely, in a sense, destroyed post Notbandi, because where he was working, he was not getting the money that he needed. Manrega was not delivering what he needed. Mr. Modi's government has been after virtually questioning Manrega during the 2014 campaign, was eventually forced to return to Manrega. But these are serious structural problems that no government can resolve. Let's be fair. I don't think it's only. No, let's be fair. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, I come back to it, is still perceived as a Kisan Mitra.
Absolutely.
Conscious of that, he's given double-digit agriculture growth rate to Madhya Pradesh, but the problems go far beyond that.
Yes. Let me try and put the different perspective here. What's more important here? If you really analysis the farmers and their state, see, in earlier days, I am talking about 15-20 years back, they were struggling for the electricity for irrigation, they were struggling for water for irrigation, they were struggling to get the right fertilizer for them. These 3 were the major concern for them, so there was no produce. But all these 3 things has been met in last 15 years, and now the problem has shifted from this to the marketing of their produce, the sales of their produce, the real margins of their produce, and that is the reason why you see the excess produce is coming, and there is a less demand, more supply.
GVL wants to make a quick point. We need to move the needle. There are 6 factors I need to cover. We've dealt only with 2. GVL, then I'll proceed to the next.
Yeah, I
wanted
think
to make a point as well.
Pradeep to some extent is right. In fact, last 2 years have seen a substantial rise in production across crop categories and across states, and as a result, and the international prices have been really very low. In the last 2-3 years, if you see, post 2014, there is a cooling off of international food prices and agricultural prices. So as a result, your farmers in the last 2 years are not getting the full effect of the MSP, I agree. But then this government, I think what is important is this government has not only made available electricity, power, water and other supplies, it has also procured a large number of crops which the Congress governments never procured. Procurement was earlier limited only to rice and wheat.
Concede this
And
point
now
here.
you have a whole range of crops
Can I
being
respond
procured
to
by
that?
the state governments.
Okay,
Gram,
very quickly,
you
Sanjay
have
Jha,
cotton,
very
you have
quick-
many other crops. So
let's
certainly the international.
Sir, you know, the fact is...
So we
that
will have to communicate this to the farmers.
there is a deeper structural crisis I keep repeating in Indian agriculture, to
give
which
me a
no one has
chance.
Even in
offered
Gujarat,
solution.
cotton
We have never
prices were a
really reformed
concern.
agriculture. We've reformed industry. We've never really reformed the Therefore, the small and marginal farmers are still completely dependent on the trader, on the money lender in the village, and then finds himself in a cycle of debt. Farm suicides continue in the same Madhya Pradesh, where there is double-digit agriculture growth rate. There have also been farm suicide. Very quick response from you, Sanjay Jha, to that. You know, the Congress today, I come back to it, is attacking the BJP but offering no solution.
Yeah.
Easier to be in opposition.
Well, Rajiv, let me give you 2 data points that are fact. There is no rhetoric here. Let me give you 2 data points. During the time of the UPA, the agricultural growth was 4.6%. 5 years of Narendra Modi almost coming to an end, it's 2.3%. You're
That
talking
was
about a
delivered by BJP
50%
government.
dip in terms of agricultural growth. That's significant. That is significant. Now, when you look at the fact that today production is not a problem, procurement is, and
That
there
was
is no
delivered
price
by the
realization.
BJP state government.
So, you know, much as Shivraj Singh Chauhan's government may have tried to boost farm production, ultimately there is no material change in the welfare standards of the marginalized poor who are dependent on agriculture, which is why the backlash. I mean, for God's sake, GVL, there are 1 lakh farmers in Delhi protesting against you. I mean, the writing is on the wall. You choose not to see it. Good luck. I'm not complaining at all.
So
but the fact
we
is,
now
rural
need to
India
move
is under
to the
serious
next point.
distress,
Yes,
and the
very quick,
repercussions will be
15
felt
seconds.
all the way to 19.
Actually, what
even beyond
BJP
that.
missed was
Yes.
Mandsaur and Nasik at the same time were 2 protests which were different from other farm protests. They were the middle class farmers, not the low subsistence farmer protesting on the street, who live in cities now, who grow oranges and other things. They were out on the streets. That's where lies the real crisis, that even the middle class of farmers was protesting in urban areas. Imagine the distress.
They are
in the rural side.
overproducing and not getting the price for their crop. It's
And
as
that's
simple
why
as
it's not
that.
manufactured, Rajdeep. It is protest
It is
of which the
genuine.
opposition is exploiting. And why shouldn't they?
Then power and water remain on the input side. They help you produce more. What you
Okay.
need to do is the marketing side.
So I now want to come to the
Free
third
electricity and
key
power is the
trend
basic of this.
that you see in the exit poll numbers. Remember, we worked all night in putting these together for you. First time voters since before 2014 have been one of the key pillars of support of the Bharatiya Janata Party. They propelled Narendra Modi to the prime ministership. For the longest time it was said that Rahul Gandhi is a dynast, he doesn't appeal to first time voters, that the Congress has no ideas, no imagination when it comes to trying to win first time voters. That could be changing according to the Access My India data. Okay, what I'm going to show you now is first in Madhya Pradesh, and you add the story, join the dots, come to your own conclusion. This is Madhya Pradesh. Here, there is a 2% gap between the Congress and the BJP. The Congress is in the lead. Remember, Madhya Pradesh is where our poll says the BJP has done the best. There's a 2% gap between the Congress and the BJP. This is in first time voters only. I now come to Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, there is a 9% gap between the Congress and the BJP. The Congress at 42% of the first time voters, 33% of the first time voters in Rajasthan suggested they voted for the BJP. Now look at Chhattisgarh. In Chhattisgarh, 44% of the respondents said they voted for Congress, 34% said they voted for the BJP, a 10% gap here. Now, GVL Narasimha Rao, the BJP can only hope that these first-time voters voted in the way that they did because of local anti-incumbency. Because if this is a larger disillusionment with the idea of Prime Minister Modi and the BJP, that ahead of 2019 spells serious trouble for the BJP.
No, Rahul, the young voters do not vote any differently from the rest of the population. Rather, young voters are the harbingers of change. So if you have picked up this right, subject to that caveat, I think they have certainly, you would see the proportion of voters seeking change or seeking a change of government is certainly going to be higher among the youth, who will certainly propel the change. But this is all local factors. Even if I were to assume that this is right, it has nothing, it has no national context. Rahul Gandhi is not an issue in this election.
Don't agree.
Prime Minister is not the key issue in this election. We have
That's an interesting way.
Who
That's an
actually run the
interesting way
state
to put it.
governments as local BJP sufferers.
That's an interesting way to put it, because remember in 2014, Rahul, since you mentioned, the CSTS post-poll survey showed 34% of voters between 18 and 23 voted for BJP and only 18% for Congress. There was 16% gap, and that is what the BJP is banking on even in 2019. Why is Mr. Modi writing these exam warrior books? That's the audience he wants to address. Now, if you are saying there's a disjunction between the younger voter in this election, as GVL seems to suggest, and how he'll vote in a general election, they're skirting on thin ice. Because obviously younger voters are now also slightly disillusioned, perhaps, to some extent, if these numbers hold, Javed Ansari.
You know, when you're young, you're a lot more idealistic, your expectations are all the more greater, and this is a growing aspirational class. You promised the moon and not been able to deliver that, and this angst that you see is a result of that.
But there is some, but would you agree, Pradeep Gupta, there is something to be said also in what GVL is saying, a distinction between a state election and a general election. No. In a state election, it is possible that the young feel disillusioned with a Vasundhara, Raman Singh, or Shivraj Singh Chauhan. In a general election, Mr. Modi may still bank on his popularity or his belief that he connects with the young.
No, it's very simple and straight. When it comes to young voters, they seek for the change, as Javilar mentioned, but irrespective of the central and state government.
Makes no distinction.
But here, in the state and central, government is the same.
No, Rajdeep, I want to add here,
So
Mr. Modi in
expectation level
2014, I tracked many of his rallies in Bihar, Jharkhand, Eastern UP. He was going all out to woo the young voter, whether urban or rural. I quote and cite here his rally in Gumla, where there was a citywide bump, and he says, young logon ko, युवाओं, माओवाद छोड़ो, कलम उठाओ. In Chhapra, he says, आपके एग्जाम है, आपके यहाँ बिजली की सप्लाई नहीं है, मैं करवाता हूँ.
No, but are you saying that connect is gone? Are you saying suddenly 4 years later the connect is going?
I'm not saying that connect is gone, but he made these personal promises in state arenas, local promises in those rallies, especially to the young ones. Now, if this is the mood, then how does he make that separate compact with the emerging aspirational class, as he called it, from C-grade townships of India? That's where they got their new voters from.
Rajdeep, there is a crisis again here, that compared to 2014, when everybody was, larger masses were voting for the BJP, in urban aware social sections and states like Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, things looked similar. But now remember, we are talking about 2 states or 3 states where the rural component is greater than the urban component. These are the people who are not available on Twitter and social media and others. So they may go with the trend of elders voting. The families might be, as GVL is saying. So it is a possibility they are voting, and the tide, if it is against the BJP. Second is also that if Modi is not a big factor in these 3 states, then the Congress had younger leaders. It had a Sachin Pilot and it had a Jyotiraditya Scindia, which the BJP didn't have.
That's an interesting point, Shantanu Gupta, that somewhere the young are also identifying with leaders in their age group. I saw this in Rajasthan. You know, the moment you mentioned Sachin Pilot, there was a sense of enthusiasm that his name evoked, because he is a newer leader. He's a younger leader. The rest of the world has only seen Gehlot and Vasundhara.
So, Rajdeep, what we see in 2014 was a change towards politics of aspiration from a politics of victimization, which was seen over years. And now I think I still don't agree with this analysis. Now still I think we see, and
You still think the younger, you still
rural
think the
people are not
younger
on social
firmly with-
media. Rural people are not on social media. That's a big fallacy. Every household has a Facebook account, and I have seen you go household to household. One household you will say Facebook to everyone. It may not be 4x4, but it's 1:4 in every household. So social media has penetrated rural. That's one. And this politics of aspiration, now people are talking about my country is 5th in the world, my GDP is growing, ease of doing business, everybody.
I don't have a job and the country is 5th in the world. That's what the problem, the mismatch, the mismatch between the hype and the reality.
I don't have a job itself is a big fallacy. I think this is a very media-created jargon. I don't have a job. There are a lot of articles, a lot of data. Which
you see, even in Bundi, the Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan's constituency, you see young people sort of simply lying around the marketplace, not knowing what to do. But Sanjay Jha, again it comes to it. You don't have a solution. You see, again with the young, you are doing exactly what you are doing with the farmers. You are telling them, look, Mr. Modi promised them, I know, 2 crore jobs. He hasn't delivered. Does the Congress have an answer to the job crisis?
Well, you know, Rajdeep, we have answers, we have prescriptions, but I want to let you know, I mean, don't forget the fact that if you look at the UPA phase, and I've got the data with me, on manufacturing employment, the best phase was during part of UPA 1 and UPA 2. You see, the government has actually, in my opinion, relied on a very aggressive optics by talking about EPFO and data formalization, and saying that our job crisis is just an opposition attack against the government, which I thought was, as a student of economics, absurd. The fact of the matter is, and if you look at the CMIE data, it pointed out how many people lost jobs after demonetization, the number of small industries that actually got into a serious tailspin downwards because of GST execution, and today the unemployment numbers are 6.3% at the highest level. The answer cannot be pakoda economics and that end of day the data is the real problem, it's not a job crisis. Well, then this is the reality. I think for a long time Mr. Modi's government has just relied on creating some kind of a debate, confusing the people, trying to make it appear that end of day things are not as bad as Mr. Rahul Gandhi is saying it. But reality is, go to the urban, forget rural, look at urban India, and there is a panic and there's a crisis. I can tell you from my company, very few people are looking out for jobs, which clearly is a very, very reassuring for an employer, but it also tells you that the alternatives have vanished. And it's not going to be easy. You can't get a short-term panacea for a job crisis, but
Okay,
Mr. Decoding, we're going to focus on the MSME sector, and we're going to look at how farm labor can be made more productive by mechanization and
Here's
further
the
investment
fact,
happening, which is why the
everyone has an
FDI
opinion,
multi-brand.
but nobody is a fortune teller. Whether the disillusionment seen in this exit poll extends to 2019 general elections, nobody can say with certainty. That there is disillusionment in this exit poll, we've got a large enough sample to be able to establish that. There is another marker which, when tied up with the disillusionment amongst first-time voters, points to a problem that GVL's party needs to deal with. I now bring on your screen a cross-tab of data for the unemployed sections of the population. Look very carefully at what's coming on your screen. We'll start once again with Madhya Pradesh. Now, this is unemployed. Many of them happen to be younger, relatively speaking. Amongst the unemployed, there is a 15% gap in the vote picked up by the Congress and the BJP amongst those who claim to be looking for a job, who don't have a job. 15% gap. That's a big difference. Remember, the overall vote share difference was much smaller. Let's now come to Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, there is a 13% gap. The BJP picked up 32% of the unemployed vote. The Congress picked up 45% of those who said they were unemployed. Coming on your screen now, the data for Chhattisgarh. In Chhattisgarh, 43% of the respondents said they'd voted for the Congress. 36% of the unemployed said they'd voted for the BJP. That's a 7% gap. In a state like Madhya Pradesh, a 15% gap. The unemployed, and naturally, Rajdeep, if you're unemployed, you're not happy with the government because you expect the government to do something for you, and they're voting for the opposition.
Because you look at the number of people on the unemployment exchange in Madhya Pradesh, it's a staggering amount. That's the part of the problem. It's not as if Shivraj Singh Chauhan has not made an effort in the last decade. Let's be fair to the man. whether it's on agriculture, whether it's, you know, an attempt to give Bijli, power was a major challenge, roads, better roads than what Digvijay Singh gave, but jobs. How do I provide jobs? And I think that GVL Narasimha Rao, as someone who's, you know, been an advisor to Shivraj Singh Chauhan, you will also concede is a huge challenge. You know, how do you attract investment to Madhya Pradesh? I went to Bundi, his constituency, there's only one well-spun factory. Contrast that with a Maharashtra or a Gujarat where you will see genuine entrepreneurial energies. Where is that entrepreneurial energy barring an Indore maybe in Madhya Pradesh today? Do you concede that that is your biggest challenge? And I think Rahul's numbers point towards that.
Rajdeep, employment is certainly a challenge. I will not deny this. But a large number of people who are seeking employment, they're actually seeking employment in government. And that's really not possible. I think the opportunities for employing people, and in the Hindi belt, this desire for a government job even far greater compared to the southern states. You will not see such a sentiment in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, where people are willing to work in any private sector. In somewhere in the Hindi psyche, in the Hindi heart-built psyche, this job in government sector is certainly something that they look for. Private investments, government has made tremendous efforts, has been successful partly.
You're in government. You know, there is a certain question asked of the government. There are no easy answers. When the Congress was asked these questions, they had no answers. Now the same questions are being asked by first-time voters, by farmers, by the unemployed of the BJP, and they don't seem to have answers either. It's just one of the perils of being in government.
Rahul, every economic phenomena in a country like India has layers of social and other responses. Demonetization released a lot of workforce in the unorganized sector. That put pressure on the jobs market. You have today a system in which the farm sector is collapsing. Now, when Sanjay was talking about figures, UPA period, there were 2 years of subsequent drought in this country, and that's where the agriculture output came down. If there is a farm crisis where farmers are getting 13 rupees for a kilo of garlic from 88 in 2016, there will be lesser people being employed by agriculture, and that will be pushed to urban areas for jobs. Jobs is not a tangible sarkari job here. It is for bread and butter, what I get for my bread and butter every day.
Yes, that is
where lies the crisis.
Partly true, but there is also a greater demand for government jobs. Now, the total number of unemployed in Madhya Pradesh, 14.1 lakhs. As per the Madhya Pradesh Economic Survey itself. In Rajasthan, what's the solution? Vasundhara says, I'll give an unemployment allowance of 3,000 rupees. And then the 5,000, the Congress says 3,500. So that's your answer. You're effectively saying, we don't have jobs, we'll give you an unemployment dole. So there is a serious crisis. Whether it is that people want government jobs or whether they want meaningful jobs is a question we can debate.
Meaningful jobs. Rajdeep, that's where lies the credibility.
But it's not easy. How do you provide it? You know, how do you make sure?
When I mentioned ease of doing business, basically you are making business to happen easily.
But it's not happening on the ground.
Okay.
Where is this ease of doing business on the ground?
5 years back, we have 2 mobile factories. Now we have 150 mobile factories. It's happening. I'm saying if we are trying to create a narrative just by shouting out that's not the narrative.
I'm not shouting. I'm just telling the reality. The reality on the ground, Shantanu,
government spending has doubled in railways and roads.
Shantanu, nobody denies that government is not making efforts.
Who is doing the job?
I'm saying nobody denies government.
Double the road, when I'm laying double the railway track, who's laying the track?
You know, is the demographic dividend turning to be a demographic disaster in this country? The number of young are increasing. The market cannot provide cannot meet this, ever increasing demand for jobs. The supply is limited. Pradeep Gupta, it's impossible.
See, let me tell you, there is another, we need to go much deeper into this. See, please understand the Indian demography. There are 70% population who lives in rural India and about 30% in urban India. It is naturally whatever number of unemployment is there in the same ratio, it exists in rural and urban. Now coming to 70% of your population and unemployment in rural area, please understand them. Are they skilled enough to work in any SMEs or manufacturing sector? No.
But you promised them skill development.
Sure, but
you went and said,
but can I give you just one?
I need to move forward. Okay,
one
once
hard
again.
fact to shock you. No, let me shock you today. One hard fact that I have.
Tell me.
In Madhya Pradesh, in 2016, 9 lakh people applied for 14,000 constable posts. And among those who applied were doctors and engineers. This is the reality. This is the harsh reality of a part of India.
Why job a
just
particular kind of
Madhya Pradesh, but
safety?
across.
I think if you
The
read
same
through
would be
government
true
jobs,
of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar.
But it's
you will
true
not
of any
reach
state,
your
whether it's
correct
Congress
point.
ruled or BJP ruled.
We have only a
That's the
few
problem.
minutes.
There is a serious
We
problem.
have only a few minutes left. We have 2 more data sets compiled with great amount of effort. I don't want to leave out those. We've dealt with unemployed, we've dealt with first-time voters. I want to show you now the situation amongst Dalits and tribals. Remember the BJP and the RSS making massive efforts to try and woo Dalits and tribals on their sides. I'll show you response amongst the Dalit communities first. This is a big effort by the BJP RSS. What was the impact in the 2018 exit poll? In Madhya Pradesh, there is an 8% gap between the BJP and the Congress amongst Dalits. 43% respondents saying they voted Congress, 35% saying they voted BJP. I show you data now from Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, there is a 30% gap between those who are Dalits, 54% voting Congress, 24% voting for the BJP, a 30% gap. In Chhattisgarh now, there is a 17% gap. Remember, here there are lots of Dalits who voted for the Mayawati-Jogi combine as well. But even there is a 17% lead the Congress has. This is just Dalits. I want to come now to tribals. Remember, and we'll take Madhya Pradesh first. Amongst the tribals of Madhya Pradesh, 45% said they voted for the Congress, 36% said they voted for the BJP, and 9% lead for the Congress. I now come to Rajasthan. In the tribal seats, this is just the tribal voters. 52% said Congress, 31% said BJP. That's a big 21% lead in Rajasthan. Then there is Chhattisgarh. In Chhattisgarh, 51% said they voted Congress, 33% said they voted BJP. That's an 18% lead. And just one more thing I wish to say is that there are several seats in these areas that are reserved for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So if you add all of these together, this is very disconcerting from the perspective of the Bharatiya Janata Party. I just want to take you through those numbers in half a second. Amongst the tribals, there are 25 tribal seats in Rajasthan, 29 in Chhattisgarh, 47 in Madhya Pradesh. 33 seats reserved for scheduled castes in Rajasthan, 10 in Chhattisgarh, 35 in Madhya Pradesh.
And the truth, Rahul, is majority of these seats in 2013 were won by the BJP. Especially the SC seats, they dominated. In ST seats in Chhattisgarh, at least the Congress had a chance. But if you look at ST in Rajasthan, ST in Madhya Pradesh, it was the BJP all the way. So if these numbers are adding up, it's telling you the big story. As you are in the lower income groups, this time at least it appears you were less inclined for some reason to vote for the BJP. I don't know whether GVL will still be in the mood of denial when we throw that at him. But GVL Narasimha Rao, Rahul's figures are showing something clearly is making your party less attractive in 2018 to the very groups who had gravitated towards the BJP 5 years ago.
No, first of all, I think that's an erroneous conclusion to make, because at one time, this is a static representation of the data in the current exit poll, unless you compare it with the past. A snapshot doesn't tell you whether our support has increased or decreased. It's possible that these groups we traditionally have lesser support compared to the Congress. And that's something that you can see in several demographic groups. But more importantly, if you have underestimated the BJP support, which is the contention I've made yesterday, and I stand by that today, across 3 states, you have underestimated BJP support, and that will reflect
GVL,
across all groups.
You know,
so I think you will have
because
to
he's a
reserve a lot
cephalogist, he
of
finds
these
the
analysis
weaker part
for
of the
11th
argument.
evening.
It is correct for you to point out that Dalits and tribals
Can I
have
respond to
traditionally
him,
been
please?
Congress supporters. It is also correct to point out that the BJP and the RSS think they have made massive inroads and that you've broken the stranglehold of the Congress over Dalits and tribals. And right now, if you speak to BJP RSS leaders, they think you weaned them away from the Congress's hold. This data suggests that is not the case. He's right when he says...
No, he's not trusting the data. His problem is he's saying
No,
the
he
data
says
itself is wrong. So, I mean, if you know, if you don't trust the data, that's fine. But if your data is right, then there is a problem in state. You see, these, Rahul, Madhya Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh is a classic example of a mandalized state. OBCs, SC, STs decided Madhya Pradesh's politics. The BJP, to its credit, post Rath Yatra, moved very quickly to build an OBC leadership for it.
But
the
you haven't
Vanvasi
presented the
Kalyan
OBC
Kendras
data.
went into
Friends of
ST
tribal
areas.
society.
No one denies that. You
Friends
look at
of
Gujarat
tribal
also.
society.
They used to do well in
That's
ST
a lot of
areas. If these numbers are right, it suggests something has gone wrong. Something, this election at least, seems to have gone wrong. I mean, that's all that one can say. GVL is entitled to disagree with the data, but I think your conclusions based on what we've got, I think are perfectly telling a very big and a troubling story for the BJP.
Coherent story. It's a
Yes,
coherent
I
story.
agree. It's a coherent
You
story,
can't-
but we don't know whether that
GVL
story will
Saab-
be right on the level.
No,
and
suppose
we
the
may-
story is wrong.
Yes.
But GVL Saab, trust us to understand that if the same survey sample is simply being taking the respondent saying that I am a scheduled tribe and putting it together for a random data, it can't go wrong. Even if it is not comparing to a past time point, saying right now that there is a greater proportion of tribal voters in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, where the Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, where the Friends of Tribal Society have worked so hard.
But would you agree? But would you agree that this was Rahul Srivastava? These were the very.
should
This
they-
was Madhya Pradesh,
why-
particularly was the state
why
where
should
there
they
was a
report
response to
their-
the when the BJP, there was the entire debate over an ordinance on the SC/ST Atrocities Act. The initial violence began in Madhya Pradesh. The first, the backlash, and then even the upper caste backlash to the scheduled caste protest began in Madhya Pradesh. I'm just wondering whether somewhere are these, you know, whether it's about this battle for scarce resources, where STs perhaps feel they haven't got their due.
Rajdeep, there is a crisis vis-a-vis the socio-economic deprived and socio-economic destitutes as far as the BJP is concerned. This crisis, the BJP realizes it has been happening over a period of time. See, remember, the state government knew there will be anti-incumbency for 15 years. There have been incidents of beating up of Dalits. The BJP has tried to bend over backwards to ensure there was a session in the name of Dr. Ambedkar. Prime Minister went for a very high-profile visit to Dr. Ambedkar's hometown.
Yes.
A building has been built in Delhi. The BJP knows the crisis. It's trying to do something. but these are token attempts. Somewhere,
You see the Congress exploiting this vulnerability. Is this what Rahul Gandhi is trying? In every speech, Rahul Gandhi mentions Dalits, mentions Adivasis. If you look at his speeches in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, that's it's been his target in a way. He also is conscious, it appears, that the Congress has lost its core vote there.
And how can you grudge a political party from exploiting a loophole? Mr. Modi exploited a lot of shortcomings in the UPA, and part of the reason why he met with so much of success
But
was
the Congress had also lost that vote. The Congress had done very little for Adivasi and Dalit groups.
Yes.
Where are they? You know, it's interesting. In Chhattisgarh, they sent PL Punia, SC, to reach out to that community as their secretary in charge. It appears the Congress this time was aware that this was the BJP's weakness, and let's play into it.
Congress was aware that the tribals and SC was BJP's weakness. Congress is aware that farmers and youth are huge problem areas for the BJP, for this government, and that's why Rahul Gandhi is often being criticized for talking like a rote, but he is, you know, day after day, he just focuses on these issues, and of course, Rafale.
With no solutions, with no answers,
But
with no answers.
Manisha Priyam, the best
And
argument
opposition
GVL has
doesn't
made
need-
on this whole broadcast so far is that you're looking at Dalits and tribals who traditionally haven't been BJP supporters.
But that's
and
not
therefore,
true of late. No, that's
not
not true.
only of late, but traditionally,
last
they've
15
been the
years, they've been-
strongest
No,
supporters. Dalit tribals and Muslims have been the strongest supporters of the Congress. His argument is if we're not doing well there, I mean, nothing turns out.
No, just a minute. I've been waiting for a while. See, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes are different entities. Scheduled tribes have a very local existence. And the BJP had made massive inroads, at least in the Mahakoshal region, and GVL will supplement me with this. And it means, therefore, that there's something distinctively wrong. You were pitching to be a 5th scheduled area, scheduled tribe vote bank. What has gone wrong? Has the land acquisition for the SEZs not been working in your favor? Has the Forest Rights Act non-implementation, the small livelihood issues not working in your favor? You took up O.P. Chaudhary in Chhattisgarh, the person who worked in the Bastar region with his Gujar Basar Vidyalay. Definitely your model is being rejected lock, stock and barrel if these figures hold by the scheduled tribes who have one of the lowliest and most non-integrated existence
Maximum
in the
number of the
heartland of
farmers
India.
who come to protest, whether
Heartland
in
of
Mumbai
India.
or to Delhi, have been tribal groups.
Land hai.
You know, and it's over land. And I think, you know, unless we recognize this mood of denial will have to end. And the Congress, Rahul is simply exploiting it without offering anything. It's not as if the Congress has any solutions to the issues that are concerning the land rights of farmers, but at least they are raising it in every speech.
Okay.
They are making an effort. If Modi targets Rahul Gandhi on Christian Michel, Rahul goes and talks about Adivasis and Dalits.
Rajdeep, the politics
out of
of
time.
UP did something very interesting. With the rise of the BSP and the Kashi Rams, they took away that disenchanted Dalit voter from the Congress and the BJP. In Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, the BSP and others are yet to come in and to give a credible leadership to the Dalits, especially, that they can take away. So right now the Dalits, like the Muslims, have very little option but to go back to the Congress.
And if I may just add one sentence, the Congress doesn't have an answer, the opposition doesn't have an answer. Evidently, the ones who ought to have an answer don't have an answer also, the ones who are in government. The questions will be asked of those who are in government. You look for answers from those who are in government, less from those who are in the opposition.
So here's the way I see it. You know, forget what Access My India is saying about seats and votes. Just leave them on the side. Just imagine that you spoke to 1,97,000 people. That's a huge pan-India sample. And these are the straws that you pick up in the wind. You have to be delusional or blinded to dismiss these warning signs. Whether the Congress has answers, whether the BJP in the next 5 months can find answers, that's a whole different argument. There is trouble, you just need to join the dots. All the dots are telling you the same thing. That's what we've put together over the last 1 hour.
That's right. And those dots, will they have an impact on the 2019 Lok Sabha elections? When we return on this special broadcast, we look at that. Yes, the BJP may have reason to be worried about if this exit poll data materializes on the 11th, but will it really affect Mr. Modi's re-election in 2019? That's what we're going to look at when we return. The Modi factor on this special coverage.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.